Hua kala hulu make kai uno Levi. It's breakfast with Bob.
And our man, Poncho Man, everybody. Everybody, day 4 of Breakfast with Bob. We're brought to you by HOKA, One, Polar, Halo Neuroscience, Velofix, Today's Plan, Normatec, Four Seasons Resort, Hualalai, Triathlete Magazine, and we're beautiful Huggos on the Rocks. Our next guest, she was second here in her age division in 2015, 25-29, and this year is a para triathlete. Third place in the Commonwealth Games, third place at the ITU World Para Triathlon World Championships. Give it up for Lauren Parker. Hey, Laura.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Get that microphone right up there. So, Lauren, growing up, was swimming your main thing, or did you get into triathlon fairly early?
Yeah, swimming was my main thing. I swam for many years, 16 kilometres a day, and I also did surf lifesaving, competing in that as well. And then I moved into triathlon when I was 19. 19,
and you had success right away?
Yeah, I soon after turning to triathlon, I got my pro license and started doing ITU events around the world, and then I moved into Ironman at age 26.
And so when you moved into Ironman, then you were back as an age grouper?
Yeah.
Okay, and you had one of your best races here when you got second in 2015.
Yeah, that was the best race I've had in my whole triathlon career, and I didn't get a great preparation for that race, so I was definitely super stoked with a second place podium.
You surprised yourself?
Yeah, I did.
So how long after that did you turn pro?
After that race, I turned pro straight away.
Right away.
Yeah, and in 2016, I competed in a few Ironmans just for experience, and I was training for Ironman Australia as my main A race in 2017.
So 2017, Ironman Australia is going to be your first Ironman as a pro. April 18th, you're riding with two friends. And what do you remember from the experience? Just both tires flatted.
Yeah, I remember starting the training ride, and I remember the whole ride. The only bit I don't remember is my tires bursting and flying into the guardrail.
So Lauren flew into the guardrail, paralyzed from the waist down. And when you're in the hospital and the doctors are telling you those words, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that night after surgery, the doctor came in and said I basically have zero chance of ever walking again, and you know, that was the most devastating time of my life. Like, I didn't comprehend it. I just didn't want to talk to anyone.
And how long was it before you started looking around and trying to figure out what was next?
Well, I definitely thought that I wouldn't be back doing triathlon again until weeks and weeks after my accident. But, you know, the support that I had around me definitely inspired me to, you know, do something with my life and look forward to the positives and get back into triathlon again.
And one of the pros who you were going to be racing at Ironman Australia was Laura Siddle. And Laura ended up winning it that day, but she reached out to you after the race, and you guys become good friends.
She did. She visited me in hospital after the race, and you know, ever since then we've been great friends, and I'm very lucky to have her and her support. And she came over to San Diego with me to the CAF triathlon, and yeah, we were supposed to do the team together, but the swim was cancelled.
So in July of that year, so April, Laura was injured. In July, she was kind enough to come on the radio show, and you were going through in the hospital, and we talked about a lot of times when people get injured and paralyzed, there's probably a fog that hangs over them for a year, trying to figure out what is next in their life. And with Lauren, when we were on the radio, it was clear that fog was not there. It was, I want to get back into sport. I want to get back into triathlon. And so the response from us was, let's get you to San Diego for our Challenged Athletes Foundation triathlon that is in October, a week after this race. And what's special about it is there'll be 120 other challenged athletes. amputees, wheelchair-bound athletes, and athletes who have come back, like Carlos Molina and David Bailey, from being paralyzed to win this race. What did you gain from coming to San Diego last October?
It definitely, right from the start, it really opened my eyes, and seeing other people in the same position as me and worse. Like, I was one of the lucky ones, at that CAF weekend. Hearing so many other people's stories, and it's not just me going through a hard battle. It's it's like a family. So yeah, I got my inspiration for triathlon back on that weekend, and I got straight into it.
And McKeely Jones was there, Olympic silver medalist, Ironman world champion, and she had just guided in 2016 a visually impaired athlete named Katie Kelly to a Paralympic gold. And I think she called Triathlon Australia and said, we've got this young woman, Lauren Parker, who could be a para-triathlete. And then when you went back to Australia, you connected.
I did, and if it wasn't for her speaking to me on that weekend about getting into back into short course triathlon, then I probably would have gotten straight into Ironman.
Exactly.
But I'm thankful for her support and guidance for me back into triathlon.
So the thing with paratriathlon, you need a hand cycle. Hand cycles are way more expensive than a bicycle, right? They're about $17,000 US to get a good hand cycle. So CAF helped to get a hand cycle for Lauren and a racing chair. What was your first race as a paratriathlete?
My first race was at the start of this year in January, just a local triathlon in Australia, and that was actually the Commonwealth Games, one of the Commonwealth Games qualifying races. And I'd only been training for about 3 weeks on the hand cycle and the racing chair, so I was quite new to these equipment. And I ended up qualifying for the Commonwealth Games.
You qualified in Commonwealth Games, your first race.
Yeah.
How about a round of applause for that? It's so cool. So then you go to the Commonwealth Games. It's less than a year from your injury, right? It was in April of this year. And how'd you do there?
I got a bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games, and just being there, I was just happy to be there, but to come away with a medal just
and wearing your nation, wearing the Australian colours, and coming across that line and knowing that you're gonna get a bronze medal, that had to be pretty special.
Yeah, and I think that will be the most special medal that I'll ever have, because I'll know what it took to get there. It was a hard journey.
Yes.
6 months in hospital and straight back into triathlon. Yeah.
So cool. And then you realize that there's something going on in your back. You're feeling something. They do an MRI and realize that fluid is building up on your spine. 7.5 hour surgery?
Yeah.
7.5 hour surgery. And when you told me about that surgery, I thought, okay, Lauren's going to be laid up. I don't know if she can join us in October for San Diego Triathlon Challenge. And you went to the World Championships on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Like, how long after getting out of the hospital from that surgery?
I think 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah.
And how'd you do?
I got a bronze medal there as well. And
How cool is that?
And that surgery, I was put into that surgery because I was losing feeling down my right arm and strength in my hand.
Yes.
And it was pretty serious. If I'd have waited another 4 weeks, I would have lost both arms. So I'm very thankful. I still haven't regained the feeling.
So the feeling, it's still numb in parts of your arm?
Yeah, so just the skin, the surface.
The surface, but in terms of strength, that's still there?
The strength in my hand is, a lot weaker.
Yeah.
And I've lost feeling from my injury was,
T12.
Yeah, and then I've lost feeling up to my chest. So.
Oh, so now, okay, so now you're higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, which gives you less mobility.
Yeah.
And you've also had a top wheelchair racer working with you in Australia. Who's that?
Kurt Fernley. Yeah.
Yeah, only
I'm
one of
very
the
lucky to
greatest
have
ever.
him in my hometown.
And he's been training with you.
Yeah, and before Com Games, he was a massive, inspiration and help. Training alongside him, he was giving me tips, and just to, it takes a few years to really master the racing chair technique. So to have him, is very special.
How hard has it been to learn the hand cycle, the racing chair? Because even though you were a top-level triathlete, this is totally different.
Yeah, I've definitely had to work on my arms to build up the strength. The hand cycle was easier to get good at. The racing chair, I've still got to put in a fair few hard sessions yet to be good at that. I'm running into barriers like at the Commonwealth Games when I do a U-turn, and yeah, I've got to definitely get better at the little things.
Yeah, and then when you were in San Diego Triathlon Challenge last year, you had Alan Voisard work with you a little bit on the swim, and just a lot of those little things make a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely. Alan, he really fixed up my swimming technique, and I really thank him for that. He guided me to tie my legs up, just a simple thing like that. I was much quicker in the water.
Very cool. And you brought your hand cycle here to Kona.
I did.
And this is the first time back to Kona since your injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like being out in the Queen K on a hand cycle?
It's very different, but I'm loving being back on the Queen K. It definitely brings back memories from when I raced here in 2015. But, I'm loving it. It's amazing being out there.
And you want to come back and race this race?
Yeah, I can't wait.
So maybe the year after. So the goal right now is Paralympics in Tokyo?
Yeah, 2020. All my focus is towards that. But after 2020 and 2021, I want to be back here racing.
I love it. How about a round of applause for Lauren Parker?
Thank you.
The spirit of triathlon. Lauren, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wahine ilikia ikapoli o molokai breakfast with Bob.